Hi friends, it's Deanna here today, and today we're sewing up the Stephany Travel Toiletry and Cosmetic bag. This is a really cute little bag. There's different sizes, there's different ways to do the handle. It is so great for presents and just for yourself as well. So let's get started. Alright, let's get started. Here's my lining, and if you need to put interfacing on your fabric, I'm using a little bit of a heavier fabric, so I'm not going to use interfacing, but if you need to, you go ahead and add your interfacing to the wrong side of your outer piece. And after you do that, you're going to grab your liner, and I'm going to place it face up on my mat. This is my liner. I'm going to grab my zipper. I'm going to place it face up right on top of it. Now my zipper is a little bit longer than what it's intended or needed, and that's okay because I can always trim it later. And then I'm going to grab my outer and I'm going to place it right on top of that zipper, right side of the outer with the right side of the zipper, and we're going to pin and sew. And I'm going to sew this on with like a 2.5 length of stitch on my sewing machine, just like a really nice straight stitch. All right, we're gonna go ahead and sew up that zipper sandwich. Liner, zipper, outer. Sew it up. For this, I'm gonna use my zipper foot. Which looks like this. That way I can come close to my zipper. All right, once that's sewn there, we're gonna open it up. And we want to steam this kind of open, but you don't really want to burn the zipper, so you want to make sure that you do it really kind of gently. So I'm just kind of having like just not super hot iron and avoiding the teeth, just kind of steaming it. I'm going to go from the back as well. So I'm going to try to make the zipper go out and then steam it. All right, once that's separated and that seam allowance of the main is going towards the main this way, I'm gonna top stitch here, add a 3.5 length straight stitch about at 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So I'm gonna just go top stitch that down. Make sure the seam allowance is still tucked under this way because you're stitching it down. I'm still using my zipper foot, and I'm kind of running that outer edge of the zipper foot along the zipper, so it's kind of in about a 1/8 of an inch. And I'm kind of opening this here so that it doesn't bubble over the zipper like so, because then you'll get caught when you're gonna open it. So I'm kind of pushing it open. This is a thicker fabric, so it's sometimes a little bit stubborn, so you want to push it out of the way. All right, now we've got our zipper over here. And here is our edge of our zipper that we haven't sewn yet. This is my outer, and it's face up. So my zipper is face up, and this is my liner. So I'm gonna grab my outer, and I'm gonna place it right on top of my zipper, right sides touching. So my zipper and my liner are touching here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and clip it a little bit. Not a lot, because we're gonna add another part to this. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to come from the back, and I'm going to grab my liner and I'm going to place it right here, so we're making a zipper sandwich. Okay, so I've got outer and zipper touching, and then liner on top, so the zipper is right in between. I'm going to go ahead and sew that up. Alrighty, we have sewn it. So now we're going to go ahead and turn this bag around. Actually, let's grab the outer and we'll flip it around the liner. So now we've got the bag taking shape. It's like this tube here. You see that? Liner and outer tube area here. Because we're gonna sew those sides, will get sewn together, and our bag is taking shape. Okay, so I'm going to go over here where the zipper is, And I'm going to zipper off the edge, so it's not like my zipper pull is not outside. So then I'm going to do two things. I'm going to open up the seam allowance towards the liner, the outer, just like I did on this side. See, it's top stitched on this side. We're going to move this out and top stitch that side. And also we want to, at both ends, we're going to top stitch here so it doesn't open more, and top stitch here. Now mine got a little bit off. You see that? Like a little bit, it's not the same. So that's okay, because once I top stitch it, you'll see that it really is only just a little bit off. You can, okay, that's white right there, so it's hard to tell, but it's really only a tiny bit off. So then when I clip it, I'm just gonna go straight down. So I'm gonna clip straight the farthest in, so that way it matches. But what I'm saying is, don't worry about it if it's not perfectly matched here, because I'm going to trim that down and then I can match it when I sew it together. So I'm going to stop top stitch there, but I'm also going to here at the edge put a top stitch here so it doesn't open up on me and the zipper goes flying. I have a zipper stopper here, so I should be fine, but if your zipper is long or if it's just zipper tape, here on this side as well. So you can tell here that it's pretty even. It's just like a 1/8 here difference. It's not a whole lot of difference that I have, but it is a little bit of a difference. So I'm going to top stitch here as well, baste it closed so it doesn't, my zipper doesn't go flying. So we're going to go over there, baste this closed, and then top stitch this down on this side, and then we'll come back to the bag. But then we're going to also prep our handle. So I'm doing the side handle, the one that just goes through the side. But if you're doing a handle that the handle that pokes out, we're gonna do the same steps. The cutting guide is a little bit different because this one's the one that just goes in your bag. So it's just like a side handle like this. But if you want the looped handle that you will grab your hand on, you'll have to make it wider, which is you're gonna make it 2 times the width of your hand plus 2.5 inches. But I'm just doing the little handle. I don't want the long handle just hanging on the side. I like the side handle better. So that's why I'm going with that one. But anyway, same steps. If you have thinner fabric, or, well, this first step is for thick or thin fabric. We're going to fold that in half. And obviously, if you have like vinyl or something like that, you want to probably use like a pressing tool instead of using your iron, because obviously you don't want to melt it. Or you can use a cloth over it and do low heat. High heat, don't do high heat. So then after you do that, you're going to fold the sides in to that centerpiece, like so, to the center crease. And here's where the change happens. If you're using thick fabric, ooh, it's hot. If you're using thick fabric, your handle is actually thinner than this, half as thin when you cut out. So what you'll do, oh my gosh, that is so hot. All right, if you have the thin handle, it's about half of this width. So when it's folded like this, all you'll do is you'll top stitch this down. But because I have the thin fabric, I'm just gonna fold it in itself, and then I'm gonna top stitch the outer edges. Because you're just really just creating that handle. I didn't change my foot, but that's okay. When I'm top stitching this, I wanna make sure, or when I'm stitching this, I wanna make sure that I move my liner open as well, so that way it stays where it's supposed to. And then I'm gonna do this basting stitch here. Just went back and forth there too, so that it's not gonna slide open when I cut it. And then I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Then I can open that zipper so I can get here where I need to sew up, where I need to top stitch. Keep your needle down, lift up your foot, move your zipper out of the way, put your foot back down, and keep going. Make sure your lining is not bubbling under you, because you also don't want that lining to do that bubble thing I was telling you about earlier. All right, once that's been sewn together, we're going to flip it so that the liner is facing out. And then I'm going to match up this short edges here. And I'm going to make sure that this is even here and that this seam is even here. And I'm going to go ahead and trim up the zipper. And here's my, where I basted, so that's still there. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my loop. If you're doing hanging loop, okay, so I'm not doing hanging loop, so I'm not going to do this option. But if you're doing hanging loop, you're going to fold the hanging loop right sides together. Well, actually, if you sewed it on one fold, the edges with the raw edges will be touching. And you're going to fit that in right in the middle here. And whichever side you want to put the hanging loop on, because you're going to sew this closed. And that hanging loop is going to end up being in there because it's going to be, when you turn it, it'll be like this. It'll be like hanging out on the side of the bag. I'm not doing a hanging loop, so I'm not going to put that piece on there yet because I'm going to sew this one on the side. It's going to be flush, so it's a little different. Okay, so now I'm going to match up these two sides, right sides together here, and sew them. Again, if you have that hanging loop, you'll have that sandwiched in there, but I don't, so I'm just sewing them right sides together. All right, next we're gonna work with adding the bias binding, and I have bias binding already. This is just a piece of scrap fabric. I'm gonna show you real quickly. To make the bias binding, really you do the same thing that you did earlier to create that loop basically, where you fold right sides together, create that crease here. I mean, wrong sides together, create the crease, then fold into the crease, and then fold again in half. And that creates your bias binding here, which you're going to be attaching to finish your inside of your bag. I have pre-made bias binding that I already had in my drawer, so that's what I'm going to be using for this step, just because I already have it and it matches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to face my bias binding first along the edge here, right sides together, and I'm going to sew down that first crease. Because then I'm going to fold it over and top stitch it. I'm going to cut that off and do the same on the other side. The reason why there's a little bit of extra fabric here is when I was cutting, I got closer to the one side than I did to the other. And I knew I was doing that because when I was cutting this way, I kind of went off a little bit of my pattern piece. So that's why I had to trim that off for no other reason than that. So you want to make sure that it's all nice and even. Okay. So back to this one right here, doing the same thing, right sides together, well, the right side of the binding to the lining piece and sew it on the first crease. Now, after I sew that first crease, we're going to fold it up, turn it around, and fold it over the seam allowance. So as you can see, this side stays folded in and then over the seam allowance. And then we top stitch this down. And here's that binding. It's nice and flush and it covers that seam right there. I'm going to do the same on the other side. All right, once we're done with that, we can trim the excess of binding on the sides and get rid of any extra thread that's annoying you and getting in your way. All right, now we move on to sewing the sides. So now we're going to open it up and you're going to have 4 sides and they're going to look just like this. So here's one side, here's the other side, and that will be my one side here. And then it's the same on the other one. And this is how you create, once this is sewn, you'll create this little bag and you'll turn it right side out, open your zipper, turn it right side out and finish it. But anyway, all right, so I'm going to grab my handle. To do the handle, I'm just doing the side handle where my hand goes in. I'm going to grab here on the sides. When I match up these sides, I'm going to actually fit this handle right here in between, matching the 2 right sides together. And I'm going to place it right below that seam. So right at that seam area. And we're going to sew these right sides together here and close it. Make sure this is flushed. Now you can go ahead and baste that on first and then come back and sew it together, all together, because then we're going to attach the binding, but I'm just going to do it all at the same time. Now, if you can see that I have some stitching already, it's because I had already placed the binding on here and I placed it too far down. So I placed it too far down and then it ended up being all the way down. So I picked it and now I'm placing it right underneath, right at that seam. See where that seam is right there? That's where the top of my handle is gonna go. And make sure that you have it fitted all the way in so it's not poking out, so that it looks nice and flushed here. And we're gonna go sew that up. All right, let's go sew that there, and then we'll come back and put the binding. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. We're gonna do the same thing, but I won't have a handle on this side. Unless you want handles on both sides, then you'll be adding handles on both sides. Y'all probably didn't even notice that, and I just noticed it. And it's weird. I'm gonna point it out, and I wanna know if any of you noticed. I don't know why I noticed this, and I didn't even think about it. Usually I wear my watch, my bracelets, my rings, and today I'm not wearing anything. And I just realized that I didn't put anything on today. Why is that big of a deal? It's not a big deal. I just thought it was funny that I just now realized that I didn't put anything on. Let me know in the comments if you realized that, or if you didn't care, or if you didn't even realize it until I just said something. All right, so this is what our ends are gonna look like. We're gonna go sew that up, and then we'll come back and add binding to the edges, and we're done. I'm so excited. I like to back stitch at the beginning and the end just to make sure that that's gonna get cut there. Going over that hanging loop twice. Alrighty, now I can remove these pins. And we're gonna go ahead and sew the binding here on the sides, and we'll be done. All right, so now for the binding on the sides, you wanna make sure, because this is the edge, you don't wanna have that raw edge showing of the binding. So you're gonna open up your binding first. And when you pin it, you're gonna leave that little area here, because you're gonna fold that in so that your corner will be flushed in. And then you're gonna sew it on. And we're gonna do the same on the other edge. So that corner in here. So that way, when you turn it, your corners will be flushed in. So, and then you'll have a flushed corner here at the edge. I'm going to do that for all sides. All right, let's go sew those. So once that's sewn, we turn it over just like we did earlier. Those corners are still tucked in. I don't have my scissors to trim that out. I can trim it later. And then it gets folded down and then fold it over like so. Fold it over. Make sure it looks all nice and flushed and pretty. And there's our binding. All we have to do now is go back and clip the threads and finish up all the other sides, and we'll be done. Always check your thread. I thought I'd have just enough. I lost at chicken today. And you know what's funny? I actually have some orange thread already threaded, so I could have just used that, but I didn't. So let's just put some white on here, because I don't want to have half of a corner in an orange when the rest of it was white. I literally almost made it. Look at that. That's all I had left. Hey! Alright, now we trim off all these extra threads. And this is what the inside looks like. It's all nice and sharp. You know, what I love about this pattern is that it's a great, like, little gift. And you can put stuff in it. So you could make this as like the actual gift bag. And then it's like a reusable, because it's like a double gift. You know what I mean? Like if you're getting them something this Christmas that could go in a little pouch. And then you put it in this little pouch. And then they can use this little pouch for other things. Makeup, toiletries, anything really. All right, so now I had left a little gap here of my zipper, and I'm gonna turn it right side out through that. All right, friends, we are finished. I love this little tab here where you can just hold it, but I think the handle will be really cute too. I love, this is the medium size, and it's a pretty good size. I don't have anything in it right now, so there's nothing in it, but I will be putting some toiletries in here, and I want to make a few more to give away as presents, because this will make a great present. And like I was saying, I think it would be really neat to make them and then stuff them with like presents inside of them. And so it'll be like, this is the present bag, but then you can reuse it because it's actually a zippered pouch. I love it. And I think that I'm also going to make with all kinds of different fabrics and stuff, and the different sizes. Like, this is super cute. Also, like if you have like kids that travel and they take like shoes or stuff like that, you can make one just for like their shoes. Like my son does sports, and to like make a little bag where he can keep his shoes that he doesn't wear outside of the court, and and stuff them in his bag and stuff like that. Such a good little thing. I love it. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial. Please comment, like, share, subscribe if you haven't, and go grab your pattern, sew it up with me, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.